I think a big win is coming soon for the Auburn Tigers.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsey Crosby posts often at thebarnauburn.com. He also wears several hats, joining us as he does every single Monday. We're going to talk about the first half surprises and how I think they're going to impact the second half of the season. But Lindsey, I want to start things off with a few, I labeled them bold predictions just because that's what people do. And I think some of them are bold, and I think some of them, I don't know, you can rate the boldness if you want. But the first one I want to start with is Auburn will win a toss-up game. And so I'm lumping Missouri, Kentucky, Texas A&M, at this point, Vanderbilt.
I was about to ask, is Vandy a toss-up game right now?
I think so. But I'm going to be even more specific. I think Auburn wins a toss-up game this weekend. I think they beat Missouri.
Yeah, it of all of the teams that you're looking at, outside of maybe Vandy, it feels like Missouri's the one, coming off of what happened in the, weekend before last. It feels like this is one Auburn knows they've got to have a get-right game. Auburn's had an extra week with the bye to prepare for Missouri to get on the same page. I'm not going to say, knock on wood, I'm not going to say we fixed the turnover issues, but it's gotten much better with the turnover issues. Yeah. But we've still seen the small communication things and things like that be an issue. Having an extra week without a game where you can iron a lot of that stuff out, make sure everybody's on the same page, makes me think, Missouri's not going to know what hits them on this early morning game in Columbia. I feel better about that than maybe the record would indicate.
I'm there with you. I mean, this is a Missouri team that I think them getting waxed by Texas A&M, look at the two games previous. Vanderbilt took them to overtime, which we feel different about Vandy now than we did at that point too. But then also the game before that, I mean, Boston College really, really pushed Missouri. Mm-hmm. And this is a team that, coming off of UMass, I just kind of like where this is on the schedule for Auburn and where it is on the schedule for Missouri. I know they've got to go on the road, but they've got a bye week to prepare for all of this. And just talking to some of these players and some of the folks on staff, I think there's certainly some frustration. I mean, that's what happens when you have a losing record and you vastly underachieved based on what you thought you could do going into the year.
Right.
But this is a team that believes in itself. This is a team that firmly believes they can turn things around because I think they do feel like they're close. And if Auburn plays the way they did against Oklahoma, for sure, Georgia to some extent, if they play at that level, I think they beat Missouri in Columbia, especially if Jarquez Hunter is the focal point of the offense, which is my second bold prediction. We're going to see more Jarquez Hunter moving forward. And to me, I think those two things are tied. I think Auburn's more likely to win football games the more Jarquez Hunter is involved in the offense.
Yeah, he's one of the best players in the SEC. Just regardless of position.
Sure.
It can be argued he's one of the best players in the SEC.
Very good.
But he's not been utilized like that. And it's really funny going from a Gus Malzahn coaching staff where they would drastically overuse a running back and just beat you over the head with a guy 35 times to then turn around and look at Jarquez not even having 80 carries in 6 games, with really only one of them being a blowout win. Yeah. It's really odd. I mean, 6.8 yards per carry. He's breaking tackles. He's getting longer runs off. He's got a 38 yarder. 88 yards per game is his average. It is not nearly enough. And it feels like you could give Jarquez 20 carries in a game the rest of the year. He's going to break 1,000 yards, but he's going to be able to put up, it feels like 130 a game. And it doesn't really feel like there's anybody on the schedule who's just going to completely shut down Jarquez Hunter no matter what, because Georgia didn't do it last week.
No, Georgia didn't do it last week, and Oklahoma didn't really do it either. And those are kind of the two of the toughest defenses we're expecting Auburn to play this year. Kentucky's defense has been solid, but Missouri's has not. Everybody's talking about how good Vandy is all of a sudden, but let's don't act like they played defense in that game against Alabama. Sure, they had the pick six, but it's not like they shut them down defensively, And so I do think Auburn's going to be able to run the football if they choose to do so, and I'm predicting that we do see more of it. Maybe not as much as we would like, but I am predicting we see more of it.
It was very much almost like a Big 12 kind of game plan for Vandy as far as hey, we're just going to control the ball. We're going to really just eschew playing defense altogether. We're just not going to give them many chances to actually score. It almost reminds me of a Service Academy game where they've got the ball for almost the entire first half and get a touchdown out of it and just grind you down. I want to say that was the longest time of possession. If I read Alabama's game notes right, longest time of possession any opponent has had in 10 years against Alabama.
Yeah, and I guess we should put Texas A&M's defense in that top category at this point. The way that they're playing,
for now,
they haven't played any crazy offenses. Arkansas scored 17, Florida scored 20. I don't know.
It's hard to give up 20 to Florida and say, yeah, your defense is good. I mean, it's Florida.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what they do against LSU and South Carolina in the coming weeks. And then obviously they play Texas the week after Auburn, so that's going to be their big test. But
please look ahead to Texas.
I think that's going to be a storyline going into it for sure. I really do, especially if they're in a situation where they could go to the SEC championship if they close out those last two games, which isn't far fetched at this point. So another one. So we've got Auburn to win a toss up game. More Jarquez Hunter. I think KLS breaks 1,000 yards receiving through the air, Lindsay. That is, I think of the four predictions, that's probably the boldest. I think if I had to self-grade my bold predictions, is KeAndre Lambert-Smith is 1,000-yard receiver when it's all said and done this year.
The good news is 6 games in, he's 510 yards. He's already halfway there. I mean, he's on pace to do it. And it's very easy to see how he didn't play full games in some of those early blowouts. It's very easy to see how if he has one big game where he really pops off, how he could easily get there. I mean, I think my question, I agree with you, by the way, 1,000 yards. My question is, or I guess my bold take, he gets 10 touchdowns this season. He's a 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown receiver for Auburn. He's already got 6. Feels like there's 4 more in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be discussed as one of the best, maybe the best year for a receiver in Auburn history if he pulls that off. It'll be top 3 or 4. It'll be top 3 or 4 for sure. And so that's exciting. I want to jump into my last bold prediction in just a second because it's honestly my favorite. It's honestly my favorite. And the folks on YouTube already saw it. So that's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. Lindsay, can you imagine hiring somebody not through LinkedIn Jobs?
Absolutely could not. I would never even think to do it. Because how do you find out if they are the right fit for your company?
Yeah. Can you describe somebody that you would hire maybe not through LinkedIn Jobs?
Probably somebody who wasn't familiar with the area or the culture. Somebody who didn't really want to put in the effort to do some of the traveling, the networking, things like that are that's required to bring in talent to our company. Yeah.
Not ideal.
Oh, and somebody who likes to take Escalades.
Wow. All right. I just got what you were doing. I was slow on that one. Maybe now describe somebody who you would hire through LinkedIn Jobs.
Somebody who is just perpetually on the road, shaking hands, champagne and campaigning, kissing babies, building relationships all across the state, the Southeast.
There we go.
Really putting in work to understand every aspect of our program and what we're trying to do, because we're going from a program to a program.
There we go.
And just empowering the people underneath him, both the players and the coaches, to excel so that we can reach the highest levels of the SEC.
There we go. Yeah, so post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Hey, I've got another show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Be sure to check it out. It's called The 3-Point Stance. It's on the Locked On College Football feed and YouTube page. So be sure to go check that out. My last bold prediction for the second half of the season, Jay Crawford makes the freshman all SEC team when it's all said and done. His play has been exceptional. He may be joined by some other defenders like DeMarcus Riddick and Malik Blockton. And I think that kind of symbolizes, Caleb Harris too, kind of symbolizes the future of what is happening at Auburn. And now that Hugh Freeze is in a great spot to stack multiple classes, to me, I think that's exciting. And I think it's likely the way Crawford's been playing.
One of the biggest things to me in watching him, and when you told me that was your fifth prediction, I was a little taken aback. So I went up to go check. I think his three best games in order: Georgia, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Like he took those
ones he played the most in too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he didn't play a ton in Arkansas, but Oklahoma and Georgia, he was on the field a lot, and it was obviously something where he got his feet underneath him. He got comfortable. It feels like every year there's a freshman that just impresses and breaks out. And I absolutely agree. Jay Crawford's the guy. And it makes you feel good about this is a room where you don't have a lot of depth. You've got injury concerns, obviously. You feel good about what Jay Crawford's been able to do. And yeah, dude, the kid's going to be a stud. And you could see him in the league in a couple of years.
It's fun to think of all of the guys that Auburn could potentially have as freshmen all SEC players. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see on offense Cam Coleman there. Malcolm Simmons is going to have a shot at it, I think. We'll see. And then on defense, yeah, I mean, we mentioned them. Caleb Harris, Jay Crawford, DeMarcus Riddick, and then Malik Blockton. I mean, that would be super, super exciting.
Can I give you a lovely Jay Crawford stat real quick?
Yes.
Between Oklahoma and Georgia, he played 60 coverage snaps. Opposing quarterbacks completed 2 passes against him for 4 yards in 60 coverage snaps.
You know what that says to me? I mean, you know what everybody does when they're putting together a game plan on offense is, okay, who's the weak link on the opposing side of the football? Right? That's not a crazy thing to say. And usually, especially the way Auburn's played, and like Hugh Freeze has been very upfront about the depth in the defensive backfield, you would think, let's circle the freshman.
The true freshman corner.
And maybe they have circled it and it just hasn't worked. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, like, how many times have you seen that? 60 coverage snaps and arguably the his two biggest performances of the year. Two biggest games of the year so far. Georgia and Oklahoma, right?
Yep. Georgia, Oklahoma.
Yeah. And the true freshman corner, a corner on an island, Crawford Island. It's a thing. Put it on a t-shirt. To me, it's just he's him. Like, Lizzie, he is so good. He is so good. And we talked about him here. If you're an everydayer on the show, you knew about Jay Crawford before everybody else did.
That is the Zach Blackerby seal of approval. Who else have you talked about in the past as a defensive back that was going to go on and do numbers? A guy by the name of Roger McCreary.
Yeah, we go all the way back to Carlton Davis. Now, K&L has me backpedaling a little bit. He is better than what he has put on the field the last 2 games. He has not been good the last 2 games, and I think he's better than that. So I'm curious to see how he develops and turns his game around. So yeah, those are my bold predictions. Drop your bold predictions if you're watching on YouTube down below. Auburn will win a toss-up game. More Jarquez Hunter. KLS breaks 1,000 yards receiving, and Jay Crawford makes freshman all SEC. We've got some first half surprises, and I want to start things off kind of on this trend of guys who could potentially be freshman all SEC. But my first one is like Malik Blockton is so great. Malik Blockton is the biggest surprise from a roster standpoint for Auburn this year. We all knew Malik Blockton would be good, but there are stretches where if you take out Keldrick Falk, like he is Auburn's best defensive lineman through pretty large chunks of gameplay. And to me, he is just so far ahead of schedule. Jason Jones has come on this show and talked about it. Marcus Harris talked about it when we spoke to him at the Senior Bowl earlier this year. And of course, he's Marcus Harris's little brother. And everybody said, like, hey, he's got a chance to be better than Marcus. He's got a chance to be better than the guy who was an NFL draft pick and was exceptional on Auburn's defense a year ago. And to me, like, I just didn't believe them, Lindsay. I did not believe them. And he is off to such a great start. So, yeah, Malik Blockton is my biggest surprise of the first half of the year for Auburn.
The thing that gets me, I mean, he's listed at like 6'3", 291. He's not the biggest guy in the world. And you have to think that's going to improve as he spends more time in college, in a college weight room and nutrition room. But he's been rushing the passer, 77 pass rush snaps. But also he's been in there stopping the run. Really nice production, 69 run defense plays.
Nice.
You know how many missed tackles he has?
I don't know.
Exactly 1.
Wow.
I mean, he is doing the job in both respects. And it feels like for a true freshman, those guys really end up specializing in one or the other. Either you put them in there to disrupt a passing play, try to get penetration, or you put them in to clog up the lanes. He's doing both. And that to me is, that's the most impressive part, because most guys can't do that.
Yeah. I wanted to put in one of these, but I ran out of room on the graphic, that Auburn's pass rush has surprised me a little bit, because I thought it was going to be non-existent. And then we heard good things about fall camp. But then early on, we're like, what's going on with containment? Why can't they rush the passer? And then it has gotten better again. Some of that's Malik Blockton. Some of it is Keldrick Falk becoming exactly who Auburn needed him to be as a second-year player. And some of it is J-Mac getting his feet up under him and playing like, we saw him do towards the end of last season. So I wanted to kind of lump the pass rush surprise, positive surprise, with that. My next surprise is negative, and I think I'm going to get some crap for it. So just preface, that's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. In fact, Lindsay, we had to pre-record this because as this show drops Monday morning, I'm boarding a plane in Boston because I went to go see the Pats, went to go see Drake May's debut, thanks to the tickets that I bought at Game Time.
Are you planning on wearing your Mac Jones jersey? What happened with that?
No, the Mac Jones jersey, both of them are in the back of the closet.
Okay, just curious. But hey,
same number. Yeah. Same number.
And what I love is you didn't have to come out of, like, you could afford to buy a new Drake May jersey because you saved so much money with Game Time.
That's right. That's right. Fun fact, last year and 2 years ago, my mother wore the number 4 Jarrett Stidham Patriots jersey, and her hair was long enough to cover up the name on the back, and everybody thought she was wearing a Bailey Zappi jersey.
I mean,
I've told her she could do that with Mac Jones. She's like, no, we need to respect Drake May. And I'm like, yeah, great.
Do the Cleveland Browns thing with the electrical tape and just write on it.
Yeah, at least they all keep the same number. That's right. Exactly. Yeah, download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Lindsay, what time is it? What time?
It's game time.
It's game time. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Another surprise of the first half of Auburn's season is how unprepared Auburn has looked during football games, particularly the big ones. It just seems like everybody is a better coached football team than us. And whether it's not like arriving in the moment or silly mistakes, turnovers has been the big thing, lack of capitalization in the red zone. It's just all of the things that well-coached football teams do, we aren't doing. And that is shocking to me.
This one is really confusing to me because I know that Hugh Freeze took on a bigger hand in the play calling. Derek Nix is the play caller, but Hugh Freeze took on a bigger hand in that than he did last year.
Right.
And I know the man has to recruit. I'm starting, like, it's making me wonder about the division of duties. Has he delegated that to somebody else and they've been dropping the ball?
Yeah,
what is going on? Because Or maybe
but
this
it's
is
also
just
like it's just so many things. It's not
it's not one thing.
It's like everything. It's like everything that we should be prepared for, we're not. And it's just I don't know. It's just it's not great.
It's like Auburn, for all of these situations, doesn't have a fully formed plan. They just have concepts of a plan. Had to tie it into the recent news, you know. Yeah, here. I'm so ready for the election to be done. Anyway, it's so it's frustrating, right? Because it feels like it's in some situations, it's things that like we can see coming. We're watching on TV or in the press box or in the stands, and we're like, okay, this is going to be a problem. And then they don't handle it the right way. It's like they obviously haven't gone over this or haven't covered it. And it's frustrating because this is all the little stuff on the margins that can take a win into a loss or a loss into a win. Like you could argue if the turnover issues weren't as bad, like that was probably 2 games right there. But you could argue that Bobby find another game where, yeah, some of this little small stuff caused you to lose when you should not have.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a million times. Like Auburn messed up over and over and over again against Arkansas and Cal, and still had a chance at the end. It's like I think the talent on the roster. It's just you're not capitalizing. Another huge surprise. We talked about him earlier, but KeAndre Lambert-Smith. To me, I mean, he has just been such a gem. There was so much attention on virtually everybody else in the receiver room. I mean, he has just exceeded expectations for me. And I hate that we only get him for this year. I hate it because he has been so fun to watch.
He really has. The thing that comes to mind when I watch KeAndre Lambert-Smith, dog, like just dog. It feels like he's significantly better than he was even his last 2 years at Penn State. Like you can go back and you can look. He arguably wasn't that great in 2020. Nobody was. It was a weird time. And 21 and 22, like his production was fine. Last year was a good year. This year legitimately could be almost a great year. 21.3 yards per catch. His previous high was 16.2. Like he's getting more volume, more targets, and he's being more productive with it at Auburn than he ever was at Penn State. And it's just wild to me.
Yeah. Yep. And then my last first half surprise is Caleb Harris could be elite. Caleb Harris could be elite. He's close to it already, at least as far as a freshman goes. I expect him to play more and more snaps and more reps because, I mean, he's just everything you want in a defensive back. And he does multiple things well. He's not just a thumper, a guy who can help in run support that you walk up into the box. He's covering at a pretty solid clip, especially for a true freshman. And his tackle grade, I think, is one of the highest according to Pro Football Focus on the team. You may have that up, and you can fact check me on that. But he's doing everything at a high level. It's not just one thing, and he seems to just get it. Like that dude is a football player, and you want him on your team.
Taking out the guy with less than 10 snaps here, Caleb Harris is the 5th rated defender all around by PFF on this
who has 10 snaps that's higher?
It's 9 snaps. It's Rod Elston.
Got it.
Cornerback. Yeah. Outside of him. Like it's like Keldrick Falk, Jason Jones, Champ Anthony, Jalen McLeod, Caleb Harris. Coverage grade. He has the 2nd highest coverage grade on the team at 77.8. Champ Anthony, which that's probably not going to change because obviously he's not around anymore. Tackle grade, like you said, he is number 1, a 90.1 tackle grade. 15 tackles, 0 missed tackles. 10 of his 15 tackles have been classified as stops, which they have a definition. It's more than just making a tackle, but stopping them from getting the yardage they need. Yep. Rush defense, he's a top 5 defender on the team. Like every possible way. It doesn't say he's the best pass rusher. It's also not his job, but something he could easily grow into too.
Yeah, he has a hurry, I think, doesn't he? I don't know if you have it from the screen that you've pulled up, but yes, I think he has a hurry as well.
He does have a hurry as well. Yeah, he's rushed the passer 8 times and he has 1 hurry, which is a better ratio than a lot of other guys have.
No doubt. So yeah, props to Caleb, but also props to the staff for making sure he got into the class. So I think that's awesome. Dog, 100%. Lindsay, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Whew, it's a lot. Okay. The Atlanta Braves coverage, bravestoday.com. There's a podcast. There's a Substack. Go with that. If you just want MLB news in general, firstpitchpodcast.com, daily MLB recap. And then the Auburn baseball coverage, The Barn Auburn. Go check it out. Subscribe. It's great.
Yep. TheBarnAuburn.com. The best Auburn baseball coverage and analysis comes from the Lindsey Crosby, and it's at TheBarnAuburn.com. The first month is just $1. Come on. College baseball is rad. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.